Hello, this is Cuckoo. I'm right in the middle of creating an album for YouTube Music Library. It's a great honor to be part of that, so thank you for having me. I'm stoked about it actually, but it's also very hectic. I created 3 songs, they're done, but I need to create 7 more. So in total 10 songs for this album, and that needs to happen in 1 month. It's a little bit hectic and I can feel the pressure building up. But I try to stay on track by having a very predictable workflow. And also for this particular album, I'm thinking already before I make the album, I'm thinking this is something I want to perform in the future. I'm going to make it really special, but I want to be able to perform it. So that will sort of also dictate how I make the album. So in this case, I'm basing it all on an Octatrack. Everything is composed and made on the Octatrack, and then I record that for like 12 or 15 minutes maybe, and chop it up, pick out the best pieces and fit it together into something that sounds like a song for about 4 minutes or so. And then I add stuff on top of that, maybe a piano a lot of times, so I try to marry this acoustic sound with a very digital sample sound of the Octatrack. So, and that requires a lot of mixing, even though it's just 2 tracks. It needs a lot of mixing. So I want to show you today how my workflow, what it looks like, and what type of mixing I'm using. Yeah. So let's get into it. I'm going to show you. Let's first maybe hang these up again, because these usually go here, but in these YouTube videos I take them down because it looks nicer. But they really help me have a good sound in this room, which is otherwise going to be very boxy, and then I'm not making the right calls with my ears because sound. So let's hang these up again. On the wall, up in the ceiling, another one over there, by the piano, up here, over there. Yeah. Okay, so we are in Logic Pro, and it doesn't matter what software you're using, just if you can handle like VST or audio units, that will be very helpful because sometimes you need external stuff. But I'm using Logic Pro because I think it has a really great value for the money, and it comes with preloaded with a lot of very useful stuff. And also I like the colors. The first thing we see here is the colors, right? I've chopped it up and labeled everything with different colors according to the progression of the song. Typically, if there's a lot of tracks, I labeled the different tracks in different colors instead. But right now, this is just an Octatrack recording, and I want to move forward quickly. Like, this is the finished song, and it is about 5 minutes long. But if we head over here and take a look at this is the actual main recording, like 13, and this is about 12 minutes long. So out of this 12 minutes, I chopped it up, tried to identify what was working really well, what wasn't working, and color coded it. Like, I'm in this part of the song here, this is another part of the song, and then I just try to edit it together in a way that makes sense here. So if we take a look at the audio recording, like the raw recording here, you can see I made an attempt there, stopped it, tried again, stopped it, and then start again. I said to myself, let's just keep it running and redo stuff that didn't work. So I started out like this. And this is with all of the mastering and mixing on. If I turn all of that off, like that. Yeah. This is the starting point. Actually, there is a master limiter too. Okay. So I'm starting out here, and when I'm recording all of this, I accent stuff. I try to make good transfers, like bridges between sections. And like here, for instance, I suspect there's a bridge or an overlap that didn't work out very well. I kind of lost track of what I was doing and didn't come back in time. Although like the warp down sounded kind of cool. That could be used, but then maybe I'm doing it better over here. Let's see. Yeah, I was just muting the kick drum there for some time and making it a much less in-your-face kind of transition, which maybe worked better. So let's head over to the mixing phase here. So this is just one stereo recording, but I still wanted to improve on the sound that's coming out from the Octatrack and make it more organic, more more atmospheric, because on this album there's going to be a lot of piano and I want it to go well with the kind of acoustic vibe. So let's see what I've done here. Let's see what kind of plugins I've used. I've used FabFilter's Pro Q. It's an EQ. It's also a dynamic EQ. Isotope Ozone, where I'm using the stereo Widener. FabFilter Pro Reverb, and FabFilter Pro Limiter. It's an active kind of limiter. It's very good for boosting the volume. And then we have a reverb on a bus and a stereo delay on another bus. So let's gradually turn all of this on and see what I've done. Okay, first, the EQ. I think the first thing that I'm always doing is to run everything through the FabFilter Pro Q. Let's actually bring up a clean EQ. Pro Q, like so, is clean. And just run the audio through this and take a look at the levels in the EQ window. Ooh yeah, full screen. Just by looking at this, I can see some spikes, and some of them might be totally fine, and some of them might be worth taking a look at. One thing with FabFilter is that you can hover the mouse pointer down here, and then it will gradually build up I'll show you. So it's gradually building a curve here of what's going on over time. And it's showing me some peaks, even suggested that maybe you could take a look at these peaks. And some of them might be totally fine, and maybe they just happen once in a while. And the stuff that happens once in a while and that I don't really like, that it could be something that's kind of ear piercing, I could just grab them like this and pull them down. And suddenly I made an EQ change there. Like this, maybe. That one was a bit... But, I mean, the visual thing is really helpful, but you need to use your ears as well. And this looks a little bit aggressive, right? I made like huge dips in the spectrum here, but instead I could make them I could take this outer ring and instead make them dynamic. So this is just going to happen once a certain level is reached, then it's going to parry that and limit that. If I do that on all of them, like so. And then eventually I end up with something that looks very specialized, like so. I take a look at this. This is what I came up with. I'm going to turn on the active limiter to it to bump the volume here. Now look at this. This is really specialized. We can see a general bump in the bass there, but rolling off the lower end, like the sub frequencies maybe, you can see a general slight lift here. And other than that, everything is dynamic, more or less. So I would identify stuff that is frequently disturbing in the mix and try to turn that down. Let's see what it sounds like with this. So I've taken care of lots of little details there in the sample. There's some hi-hat, some metallic sounds, some of the bass kick drums kind of sound. It's actually me tapping on different objects in a factory, which I field recorded. And just to try to specialize my EQ and until it kind of sits. But I don't want to lose too much energy. Some of these spikes are really high energy stuff. So if I take care of too much of that, I'll probably lose a lot of energy, which, yeah, it's a fine line. As you can see, all in all, it's kind of subtle, apart from these spikes that I wanted to dampen. Okay, so the next plugin that I'm using is an Ozone, what's it called again? Ozone 7 Imager. It's a stereo widener, and the good thing with it is you can select per band, per frequency band, how much widening you want to apply. And I feel like I always avoid adding a widener in the bass. It just, yeah, it creates this weird thing. And then I'm gradually increasing the widening up until here, and then decreasing it a little bit in the top there. Yeah, this is one of the few plugins from iZotope that I use frequently. I think it's a really good stereo imager. Let's listen to it without and with. Just giving it more space. It's not a reverb, but yeah, I'm not sure how to do it, but you can see this creating this dither. It says polar sample. I don't know what it means, but I like it. The next one I'm using is reverb, and I know there's lots of reverbs out there. Like when you're using a reverb based on an impulse response, it sounds great, but it's difficult to change it a lot of times, and you just end up going through presets, and that could take a lot of time. Categorize browsing presets as being a time thief, and in this case, I don't have time to go through presets. Maybe I could find a reverb that is better than what I have here by using an impulse response reverb, but it'll take me too much time. And this one, I could change it according to my needs. So I'm again using FabFilter. Let's see, I'm just using a tad. You can see here, let's see, you can see here, mix 5%, just a tad of reverb. Maybe you can only hear it in headphones, I'm not sure. Let's listen to it. See, is it on? Yeah, it's on. This is also just to help putting this music into space, into a room. And on the other songs, it's even more important because I'm using acoustic elements there. So a fairly short, like 1 second reverb here. Let's dial this up to 100 so we can hear it. So you can clearly hear, like, this is kind of mimicking a quite small room. And that's what I wanted here. I wanted this to be like an intimate space where everything is going on close to you in this small kind of, room, small, intimate venue. But only 5%. Okay. And then we got the bus sound effects. So we got yet another reverb. Let's bring that up. So this is a bigger reverb. It's 2.5 seconds long. But just judging by this, the amount being used here, you see that there's actually I'm not using it. So why is it there? Well, I'm using it once in a while. Let's see. I'm going to open up the automation here. Let's see. Send. Yeah, so the purple one here, this is where I'm sending to the reverb. And, okay, let's listen to this. This part of the song felt really glitchy and kind of empty, so I wanted to create more space there, and I'm sending to the reverb in every kind of snare drum or clap or whatever you call that. Then I gradually send more and more to the reverb, and by the end there, in the ending, it sounds like this. And then I'm using a lot of that reverb to kind of have this epic floating ending there. And then this is sending to delay. So I'm going to turn that up. And also, it's the same thing with the delay. It's over here. I'm not using the delay like constantly. It's just something that I use once in a while. Like, let's listen to this. Yeah, and the only thing I've kind of turned it on halfway through this is the limiter there, and the FabFilter Pro L. It's a limiter, but I'm not sure what the real word here. It's an active limiter, so it's gaining and also limiting. So let's see. Without that, we're back to the regular normal level. And with it on, so I've gained about 8 dB. So let's go back to the more to the louder parts and see what it sounds like. Whenever you see a red part like this is where the limiter is actually kicking in. So it's raising the volume. I also turn on Lookahead, 4 milliseconds. So I hope that will kind of predict the level of limiting that's needed and make a smoother job. Sometimes if you're not having any Lookahead, it could sound a little bit choppy in the beginning of sudden peaks. So with more Lookahead, you can kind of make it smoother. So let's take a look again in full screen. And I made something very wild here. I think the song is kind of wild and crazy and unpredictable, and it has this raw energy. At least that's what I want. And sometimes it's a bit difficult to plan everything and make it really tidy and to follow the volumes. So you can see that there's a lot of sudden claps and snaps and stuff. Sometimes maybe also the way I handle the Octatrack will create these little sudden snaps and cracks, and like cutting a sample suddenly will create a little snap. And it's really good to have a limiter like this. This works really well. It sounds very transparent. It doesn't create any ugly artifacts. No, it's sweet and nice. Yeah. So what about other automation? We can see up here there's some automation here too. This is the volume of the track. Now I could have avoided this if I made better editing on the Octatrack, but this is something maybe you don't think about when you're making it, and when you start mixing, this is where you get more and more precise what you're hearing and more critical. So I could hear there's a lot of claps, and yeah, mostly claps. Let's see what this is. Like a sudden effect that I was using on the Octatrack, like a sort of fast re-triggering thing, and it's just way out of level. The level is too high, so just for that little place there, and reducing the level with 8.5 dB, and then smoothly going in again. So how about the next one? Also, this high pitch kind of too much of that. Now you're just going through the whole song. It's probably a similar place. Yeah, same place. This. Yeah, stuff like that. Just too crazy. And yeah, just go through the whole song and make sure there's nothing ear-piercing kind of sticking out. Yeah, well, I'm not going to reveal the whole song. I'm going to save that for the launch, but I hope that I will be able to deliver everything by the end of November 2019, and hopefully we'll see the release of this material in December if the machinery of YouTube is fast enough to handle that, or it might slip into a January release. So I'm looking forward to presenting this whole album to you. It's going to be 10 songs. And then I want to travel around a little bit and perform these songs. And yeah, cool. So anyhow, this is what I wanted to show you today. A little bit about my workflow in creating this YouTube music library album. So once we release all of this, it's going to be available for free. Anyone could download this album for free and even use it in your own videos if you want to. And so hopefully December or January is going to launch this. Looking forward to making a big splash. And yeah, looking forward to present all the material for you. Okay. Yeah, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy the stuff that I'm doing here on YouTube, please consider throwing in some donation over at Patreon. It's a crowdfunding platform in a subscription form, so you're funding independent artists' work on an ongoing basis, rather than funding like a huge project in advance, like with traditional crowdfunding. This is like micro donations on a monthly basis. So thank you everyone donating to my channel. That is seriously super helpful. It helps me create better content. It helps me live my life, and yeah, that's the way I want to live my life, actually. Create content for you, create music, and teach people how to use synthesizers and drum machines and samplers. That's my jam. So head over to Patreon if you like that. If you want to just buy some of my sample packs, go ahead. Head over to my web store. All of the links are in the description below, of course. And if you like the t-shirts that I'm designing, please head over to my t-shirt stores. Yeah, all the best and peace out, everyone. See you soon.